Today's question: how do you actually get a real ROI from AI in project management? By the end, you'll be able to categorize project tasks by complexity to strategically integrate AI for automation, assistance, and augmentation to maximize return on investment. I'm PM Panda, 25 years in project delivery across 3 continents. I've had to tell a board we were broke with 40% of the work left to do. I've seen the hype cycles come and go, and right now, everyone is shouting about artificial intelligence without actually telling you how to make it pay for itself. We are going to stop the guesswork and look at the actual mechanics of using these tools to save your sanity and your budget. Today's question: how do you actually get a real ROI from AI in project management? By the end, you'll be able to categorize project tasks by complexity to strategically integrate AI for automation, assistance, and augmentation to maximize return on investment. I'm PM Panda, 25 years in project delivery across 3 continents. I've had to tell a board we were broke with 40% of the work left to do. I've seen the hype cycles come and go, and right now, everyone is shouting about artificial intelligence without actually telling you how to make it pay for itself. We are going to stop the guesswork and look at the actual mechanics of using these tools to save your sanity and your budget. Before we dive into the strategy, let's get our terms straight so we aren't just using buzzwords at the water cooler. When I talk about artificial intelligence, or AI, I'm referring to systems that can reason, learn, and act autonomously based on data. Then there is the flashy newcomer, generative AI, or Gen AI, which is a subset of deep learning that uses large language models to create entirely new content like text, code, or images. Think of traditional AI as the engine that analyzes what happened and predicts what might happen next, while Gen AI is the assistant that writes the report for you. In a professional certification exam context, understanding these technological changes is vital because they represent the biggest shift in how we implement projects since the invention of the Gantt chart. We are moving away from just tracking what happened and moving toward a world where the tools help us decide what should happen next. The first step to getting a real return on your AI investment is through automation, specifically for your low-complexity routine tasks. These are the chores that require very little human intervention but eat up hours of your week. I'm talking about things like generating meeting minutes, running compliance checks against your project management plan, or creating automated status reports. If you are still manually copy-pasting data from 5 different spreadsheets into a PowerPoint every Friday, you are bleeding money. By offloading these repetitive administrative burdens to AI, you free up your project management office to focus on strategic activities that actually move the needle. Imagine a world where your daily progress dashboards are generated instantly from team inputs while you are busy actually talking to your stakeholders. That is the low-hanging fruit of AI ROI, and it is where most people should start their journey. Moving up the ladder, we have AI as an assistant for moderately complex tasks. This is where the tool iteratively builds ideas or models that still require your expert review. This tier relies heavily on predictive analytics, which is the use of machine learning and historical data to discover patterns and forecast future scenarios. For example, an AI assistant can look at your last 10 construction projects, identify that concrete deliveries are always late in the rainy season, and dynamically optimize your current schedule to avoid that bottleneck before it even happens. It isn't just doing the work for you, it is providing a draft or a forecast that you, the human expert, then refine. It helps you stay ahead of resource conflicts and schedule slippage by seeing around corners that are invisible to the naked eye. You are still the pilot, but the AI is the radar system keeping you from flying into a mountain. The final and most powerful tier is augmentation. This is about enhancing your own capabilities for highly complex, strategic tasks by using AI as a brainstorming partner. We use this for high-level decision-making, like running multi-criteria decision analysis or risk-adjusted ROI calculations to help prioritize which projects to even start. Augmentation allows you to explore new possibilities and simulate complex outcomes that would take a team of analysts weeks to calculate. You might use it to weigh the pros and cons of different vendor strategies or to stress test your risk response plans against 1,000 different market variables. It doesn't replace your judgment, it gives your judgment a massive power boost. This is where the real competitive advantage lies, as it allows you to make data-driven strategic calls with a level of confidence that was previously impossible. You aren't just managing the project anymore, you are architecting its success. I've seen plenty of managers get overconfident and let the machine take the wheel entirely, which is a recipe for disaster. I remember a colleague who was running a massive logistics network expansion and decided to use a public, free large language model to help with vendor selection. They fed the tool confidential supplier pricing and proprietary client data to get a quick comparison. Not only did they violate every privacy policy in the book, but the AI actually hallucinated. It made up impressive-sounding performance metrics for a vendor that didn't even exist. The manager presented this to the board, and a simple background check revealed the vendor was a ghost. It was embarrassing and nearly cost them their job. You have to remember that AI is a tool, not a deity. If you don't verify the machine's output against actual human expertise and ground truth, you are just automating your own failure at a much faster pace. Let's look at how this works in a real-world international logistics supply chain expansion. Imagine you are the project manager establishing new warehousing routes across 3 different continents. That is a lot of moving parts and a lot of data. Instead of spending your Mondays manually writing status reports for the global directors, you set up AI automation to instantly pull data from the regional team's tracking tools. This generates your daily progress dashboards and saves you roughly 2 hours of busy work every single day. That is 10 hours a week reclaimed right there. With that extra time, you move to the assistance tier. You use AI predictive analytics to analyze historical port delays in Southeast Asia versus Western Europe. The AI identifies a major overlap where 2 critical shipments are scheduled to hit the same port during a known labor strike period. It flags this conflict and suggests 3 alternative routing schedules for you to review, allowing you to resolve the bottleneck before it costs the company a cent. To finish the job, you use AI augmentation to handle the most complex part of the project, the financial strategy. You need to decide whether to use expensive air freight to guarantee speed or sea freight to save costs. But global fuel prices are swinging wildly by 15% every week. You use the AI as a brainstorming partner to run a risk-adjusted ROI analysis, evaluating a dozen different scenarios based on shifting fuel costs and potential late delivery penalties. The AI crunches the numbers and provides you with a data-driven recommendation for a hybrid shipping model that balances cost and risk. But here is the key. You don't just blindly follow the suggestion. You take that data to your shipping experts to verify the physical feasibility, like weather constraints that the AI might have ignored. The AI provided the options and the deep analysis, but you made the final strategic call that protected the project's margins. That is a textbook example of integrating all 3 tiers for maximum impact. In my 25 years of delivering projects, I've learned that the most dangerous phrase in management is "the computer said so." I've seen global port rollouts where the schedule was perfectly automated, but the system completely ignored physical reality, like seasonal monsoon patterns, that made the planned construction impossible during certain months. The AI saw the data, but it didn't understand the environment. You must always verify machine outputs against human expertise. If the AI gives you an answer that feels wrong in your gut is probably right. We use these tools to inform our decisions, not to replace them. The goal is to be a project manager who is empowered by technology, not one who is enslaved by it. Always ask yourself if the output makes sense in the context of the real world, not just the digital one. Here is what most people get wrong when they start using AI, and I've seen this mistake kill careers. The first is skipping the human review and assuming the AI output is a finished product. You cannot treat Gen AI like a vending machine where you put in a prompt and get a perfect result. The results of your initial AI iterations should never be considered complete without further human analysis and refinement. If you just copy and paste a project charter or a risk register generated by a bot, you're going to miss the nuances that actually matter, like team culture or specific stakeholder quirks. Treat the AI's first draft as a starting point, a very fast, very smart first draft, but one that still needs your professional signature before it goes anywhere. If you don't put in the work to refine the output, you aren't managing. You are just being a conduit for a machine. The second massive mistake is ignoring privacy constraints and data security. I cannot stress this enough. Do not feed confidential supplier pricing, proprietary client data, or internal employee records into public, free AI tools. Unless you are using an enterprise-grade tool with strict data usage restrictions, you are essentially publishing your company's secrets to the world. Along with that comes the danger of AI hallucinations. Because these models are built to be helpful, they will sometimes confidently provide false information just to answer your question. If you fail to implement responsible AI policies and blindly trust every chart the tool spits out, you leave your project vulnerable to complete nonsense. This is especially relevant if you are preparing for professional certification exams, as the ethical use of technology and the protection of intellectual property are major pillars of modern project leadership. To wrap this up, remember that getting a real ROI from AI requires a tiered strategy. Automate your low-complexity administrative tasks to free up your time for actual leadership. Use AI assistants to dynamically resolve schedule conflicts and predict resource bottlenecks before they derail your progress. Finally, leverage AI augmentation as a high-level brainstorming partner for those complex, risk-adjusted ROI decisions that define your project's success. If you follow this structure, you move from being a reactive manager to a proactive leader who uses technology as a force multiplier. You stop being the person who spends 20 hours on a spreadsheet and start being the person who delivers results. It is about working smarter, not just faster, and keeping your human judgment at the center of every decision. Your actionable next step for this week is simple. Pick one low-complexity administrative task, like meeting minute generation or drafting a basic status update, and automate it using an AI tool in your very next project meeting. See how much time it actually saves you, and then use that extra hour to look ahead at your risks. If this breakdown helped you see past the AI hype and understand the actual strategy, hit the like button so I know to keep making this kind of content. Subscribe if you want practitioner-level lessons from the trenches every single week to help you lead better and deliver more. I'm PM Panda, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep your data clean and your judgment sharp.